Okay, thank you, one, thank you all. You guys see me?
So you can. Yeah, see you.
Or I'm gonna be walking around.
Okay, so I can be on me. On camera duty.
All right, so thank you for attending. Today's session is called LEAD. It stands for Leadership, Enhancement, and Development. Interesting story. I've actually been working on this concept for the past 10 years. Not every day for 10 years. That would be obsessive. So I came up with this concept quite some time ago, and I'm appreciative of our agency for allowing me to pilot it here with you all. So thank you all for coming. So what we'll do, we'll dive into it. I'm presenting, Patty will be presenting. It's interactive. Angel just came in here. Shout out to Angel. It's interactive. So by all means, unmute yourself. Talk about different points of views. My folks who are in the room with me, we have a whiteboard. This is informal. It's a safe space. We're not going to talk about anything too heavy, but just understand everything that we talk about, every ideology that we discuss is moving towards a finish line for you as an individual. That's kind of the air I want you all to have with that. And I want to give a shout out to all of our colleagues who are on visiting us virtually. Thank you for attending. So we can get right into it. Go to the first slide. Okay, the first letter is L for leadership. I feel like I'm teaching my niece right now, but I'm really big on acronyms and quotes. I think for those of you who know me, know I write a lot of cards, so that's kind of my thing. And I think words have an ability to be timeless, to live in a space where there are no space and or time. So you'll see a lot of quotes in here. By all means, feel free to use them on your next email or email signature. So this first one, every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars and change the world. That is a quote from Harriet Tubman. It is actually a real quote from Harriet Tubman. If you are familiar with social media, you'll understand the significance of that. That actually was said. So we can dive into the next slide. Okay, so this is when I get to take a break, get some water, and interact with you lot. So the first session we are going to do, it's only a few of us, so we can consider our virtual folks one group and us in this room another group. So this is more of a breakout session. Identifying the leader in you. So there are 4 markers here. The first one is picture a setting like work or your personal life. What unique positive actions would you like to initiate? The second one, list the habits you'd be willing to break if you would lead yourself in a new direction. That's my favorite one. This could inspire and or lead others in the same direction. The third one is picture yourself bucking to a trend to explore that is less popular. And I know this one is risky for us human beings, but the road less traveled, think about that. How could you help to help others explore new roads? And finally, list the behaviors you would want to see in your leaders. We can't ask folks to do things if we don't tell them what we think they should do. So what I would like you to do, folks online, you can use the chat feature. Please speak to your thoughts on all 4. There's no particular order. You can speak on 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then us folks in the room will take this marker or take any other markers and talk about your thoughts. Everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay.
How much time do you think will be?
Oh yeah, sorry about that, guys. Let's do 5 minutes to write, 5 minutes to talk. Talk about it after.
Can we go there?
Do that. Yeah, I think that's the important reason.
I can't spell. I'm dyslexic. Very well.
Good.
You also struggle with the box, I see.
I felt really guilty because they're new. That's my financial problems. I don't want to open them. I know. I was like, we could all just use the black marker.
That's the trunk.
Oh, Lord. No particular rhyme or reason, you put some words up there.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, what they should.
Love that. Over here, we've been writing stop procrastinating, more structure, pushing it to tomorrow. These are habits that we want to break.
That was a good one. About 3 more minutes until we discuss.
You're trying your best, I see it.
Thank you. I was like so confused at first. And then I see.
Okay.
You did say it, Jen. Like behaviors is so, because I can always think of like attributes that I want in a leader, but behaviors, specific behaviors, is actually interesting. That's true.
Listen with the intent to understand.
One.
Active listening.
1 more minute. If folks online have any last thoughts before we discuss.
We're gonna have the behaviors one for the second now.
Yeah. It's the most transparent. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, everybody, we'll discuss in a moment. Actually, we can begin with those responses from our virtual guests. Brenda, you wrote freedom. Oh,
There's more.
okay, yep. Everybody. Okay, so we can. Is Joanna first?
Yes.
Okay, Joanna, we can start with you. Did you want to expand on that?
I just, I think personally, for my personal life, I just really want to be more healthy, and you know, that includes eating healthier and exercising more. And I think that also, when you're healthier, you're more present at work and you're not calling out, and you can focus more on your job and what you're doing. So it's not just a personal goal, but for overall well-being in life. Um, and then, for work, I would like to be more open-minded and learn from others, and, kind of break my Irish stubbornness that I have going on. And just, you know, just learn about others, and, not be so, in my own circle of friends with people like me, and, you know, learn about the culture of this place and the people that we work with.
Sharon, who is next? Okay, Brenda, you put freedom. Did you want to talk about that?
Yes, because it talks about, picture yourself like away on a trip or an event that, you really like doing it, and what would you take away or try to incorporate into like work. So I'm thinking about, on vacation, how I don't know about anyone else, but when I'm on vacation, I'm really, it's a time to relax, become, revitalized, rejuvenated, and it helps me to work better. But it allows me the freedom to say, I'm going to take this time here. And even if I decide to like do some work on vacation, I feel like I'm more effective. So freedom allows me to do that. Freedom to relax, but also, in having freedom, it allows me to just work in a better headspace and not feeling like I'm pressured all the time to do things, but having the freedom and also setting boundaries to stay organized to work more effectively.
Great, thank you. Ibrahim?
Oh, hello. I picked leading by example because in a situation of leadership, you always want to show everyone that you're putting your best foot forward, and if they see that you're putting out as much as you can, I feel like it will just gravitate to everyone around you, and that's why I picked that.
Okay, thank you. I agree. Thank you for that. We'll transition to folks in the room. Anybody want to go first?
Touched on a few different things. I know for listing behaviors you'd like to see in a leader, I just like put in a few different adjectives. I put confidence, familiarity, compassion, understanding, and humility. And to kind of talk about the how to put that into behaviors, I put be yourself, admit your faults, and keep improving. And I was kind of like under the theme of just like leaders are never perfect because people aren't perfect. And so I think the best way to become a better leader is to, of course, focus on your strengths, but also know that you as a person can always continue to grow. And without knowing what your faults are and who you are as a person and your biases and how you can improve, you can't become a better leader. You will always have those things pulling you back.
I agree.
That's right.
Patty, you want to go next?
I didn't write anything down, but I would say that like a habit that I would want to break is really someone wrote it there, maybe they erased it, but it was like kind of like doubting myself, like doubting myself and the capabilities that I can do. Because I feel like as a leader, we aren't perfect, but I think a strong leader is confident in their decisions. And I think that's something that I'm gonna work on myself.
Great, thank you. Brad?
Something that I said was for the second one is just trying to be open that there's more than one way to a solution. I know I definitely get comfortable in my like workflow and what works for me, but that may not work for someone else, or someone else has a different way of achieving the goal at the end. So I think just being open to that.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Yeah.
Mine is, procrastinating and like just needing more structure. Because I am actually like I pride myself on being very structured and having a very good organized like way of doing things. But the second somebody asks me to do something, I'm just a people pleaser. So I'll be like, yeah, sure, I could do it. But then I'm procrastinating other things because I just said yes to you.
Right.
That
Okay.
includes myself. Like
Yeah, that's
I'll
important.
take time for myself and I'll procrastinate taking care of myself because somebody asked me to do something. I'm like, sure.
Put yourself in the back burner.
Okay. So mine, a habit that I actively work on breaking is getting rid of the imposter syndrome. It's out there. It's prevalent, and you know, you do your research on a role, you apply for a role, you do well in that role, but somewhere deep inside, you're like, well, what if I'm not Captain America on Thursday, 3 months from now? They'll all know, and they'll never speak to me again.
Right.
So I think that breaking the imposter syndrome and doing more than breaking it, identifying it and having a conversation with that piece of your mind that holds the imposter syndrome and telling them that you're not welcome here will really help you become a better leader or flourish the leader that you already are. So that's where we are. So everybody, thank you for participating in that. I really hope that everything that we said, you realize that you came up with this, therefore you can own this. And yeah, so we will move on. Thank you for that. It's okay. Okay. So leave us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we can go and read the common leadership styles. You know, despite popular belief for trainers, we actually don't all love the sound of our own voices. So the fact that I have the benefit of being in the room with other humans, we can start. So yeah, we'll start with you, Patty. We'll just go on.
So democratic leadership, this is when leaders, the decisions are based on the input of multiple people. It's not just the leader making the sole decision. Okay, and then autocratic leadership, decisions are made from a single source, so they don't really take that input. And a laissez-faire leadership, which history lesson, that's kind of the US system that we have. And then decisions come from individual employees, which I think that's interesting.
I need that computer in front of me. They are tiny. All right. So strategic leadership. So decisions based on strategy and goals. There's transformational leadership. So pushing to think and work in new ways. And then transactional leadership. So employees get rewarded for what? Everyone loves looking at my forehead.
I didn't think of that.
Okay, coaching leadership. Leader nurtures individuals, human interaction.
Bureaucratic leadership.
Bureaucratic leadership.
Decisions come from company policy, which can also be. You see that?
He's read that.
Can read that.
Leadership,
Energetic.
I can't read that.
Focus.
On the future. Focus on the future. But yeah, I can read all the other books.
Insane.
Sure. So now my eyes want to blur. So I can't even read it on the screen.
Yeah.
It's case study leadership. Leaders set ambitious goals. Then the next one is situational leadership. Decisions and leadership styles vary by situation.
Okay, so I believe that it's all common knowledge that there are types of leaders, there are different types of leadership. But I do want to emphasize on the fact that all of these types of leadership can be beneficial. There are situations and spaces where leadership that comes directly from policy is the best for your business or agency in our case. So, you know, take heed of the, nobody's asked yet, but I will send this slide deck out to everybody once it's done. Even folks who weren't able to attend, I'll just send it up to the agency just so folks can know. But keep an eye on these type of leadership styles and understand that there is value in all of these, and there's even value in leadership styles that may not be on this sheet, and those type of leadership styles that really aren't the best for agencies and spaces and organizations and friendships and situationships and all these things, they're useful too because we can know what not to do. So we can find value in really anything. We can go to the next slide. Okay. So here's some leadership qualities. I separated them into two different sections. So obviously there are more than two, but accountability and vulnerability. I think you need both in order to be a successful leader, and I think you need both in order to be successfully led. Okay, so Brad, you want to do the accountability?
Sure, I can read that one. So for accountability, show up and be present, actively engage, meet deadlines, own your mistakes, hold others accountable, trust, got to build it and keep it, and advocate.
Vulnerability, something I've been working on for years. Authenticity, be an authentic person. That doesn't mean that if you have a goal, a personality trait that you want to be and you're not there yet, that doesn't mean you're not being authentic, but just be authentic in how you move. A vulnerable leader creates connections, has courage, ask for and appreciate constructive criticism. We will circle back on that because that's a huge topic and creates change. We believe that if you have a healthy mix of these two columns, then the leadership qualities that you already have can be brought out, and the leadership qualities that you would like to have can be achievable. Most importantly, the leadership qualities in your leaders, you can see them more. You can, you know what, the person who's leading me now, they actually do a large number of these things. Well, maybe I should look at it from that point of view. Does anybody have any questions or any comments before we go to the next slide under leadership qualities? Anybody want to name any that are not listed, so on and so forth? Okay, no worries. We will come back to that. We can go to the next slide. Anybody want to hit the Lena Horne one?
Heavy is the head. It's not the load that breaks you down. It's the way you carry it. Lena Horne.
I was so excited when I saw that Lena Horne said that. Pretty self-explanatory. Providing inspiration is very difficult. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. That's the whole quote. And that, if you haven't heard this before, that basically means it's a lot to lead. It's a lot to be king or queen or whatever you want to, whatever title you choose. It's heavy. It's a heavy situation. It weighs on you at night. And I really invite all of us to be considerate of that when we are being critical of our leaders. Like I said, we're going to be very candid in this. It's really difficult to not do this. And the example I was always taught, if your parents, guardians, or whomever raised you, if they told you the sky was red, there was a point in your life where you would have believed the sky was red. Begin questions wrong on tests, and in the arguments with the teacher. No, the sky is red. So with that being said, it's very heavy, no pun intended, to be a leader, and it's a lot that weighs on your back. Oftentimes, your leaders protect you against things you don't even know exist, and oftentimes they have your back in rooms you've never walked in. So I really want folks to kind of understand that. Next, developing others, leading change, handling different perspectives. My favorite, and the one that I relate to the most on this list, and then we will tackle the last two, like I promised, is handling different perspectives. Once you realize that if you have a team of, how big are teams? 4 or 5, except for, right, 4 or 5-ish. Shout out to the case managers. I know they're like 300 each. Shout out to you guys, but you have to be okay with handling multiple personalities and multiple perspectives in multiple ways to win at a Pac-Man game. Do you know how many ways you can win at Pac-Man? You can go left, right. You really think about it, Pac-Man game is actually terrifying, but there's multiple ways to cross the finish line. So handling different perspectives is something that we should tip our hats to our leaders, because it's super important and it's very hard. It's harder than you think. Have you ever babysat? It's really not making a correlation between your subordinates and children, but it's a polarizing example. So cut them some slack. The last two, dealing with imposter syndrome and managing a team. Those two are actually more connected than you may think. I touched base about my imposter syndrome that I have dealt with my entire career. Probably about midway in my career, if retirement goes the way I want it to go, about midway. And it's a real thing. And your imposter syndrome oftentimes can look like you're not interested. It can look like you don't have self-esteem. It could look like you always have an attitude or things of this sort. So really dive into that and understand where you are and your perspectives. And I think that with that, we can all reach a finish line together. This is a pilot. What we're doing today, it's a pilot. It's there's no finish line to this. Down the line, if folks say, hey, I want to have a specific session on this, but I want it to be no supervisors in it so we can candidly talk, we can do that. If the leaders and the directors of this agency say, hey, let's do one, let's get somebody in here to do a training on X, Y, and Z, we can do that. So as you go down this yellow brick road of this pilot, keep that in the back of your minds. These are supposed to inspire change, inspire thought and communication, and a healthy dialogue between humans. So we can go to the next slide. Oh, we already did. All right, so what are your expectations from your leaders? And it is also time for me to take more water. So I'll go last. Does anybody on the virtual side of the house want to start? So you can either type something in or you can unmute yourself and talk about some expectations from your leaders that you have. Water break.
I can go ahead. I know one thing, an expectation for me always is communication and transparency. Always want to know what the expectations are, what they expect of me, what I expect of them, what they are doing. Just a clear line of communication from leaders and the people that you're leading always. I'll just say that one for now.
I agree with that. I feel like transparency and like with that transparency, the ability to truly guide, to guide me. I feel like I need that sometimes. Like, as you were saying before, you needed structure. I'm that same way. And like, I look for leadership to provide that structure for me. And it's really difficult when you go into a new organization and you don't have that structure and you're like looking for it. And I feel like I always want that from leaders.
Oh, okay, everyone. I think for me, supported in a physical way, but also emotionally. So, physically supported as I don't know. I guess just someone I could turn to if questions or needing help with something. But I think leaders also need to emotionally support everyone, not everyone, their team.
No.
Be the counselor for the whole workplace. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so
I feel that. I understand the emotional support too, because like sometimes there are things that like sometimes you don't want work to impede your personal life to impede in work, but sometimes it does. And I think having leaders that are understanding enough to be like, okay, like what's going on? What can we do? Can we move on with this and like have a better day? Or like, like have some type of empathy to resolve. Get that.
Yeah, my expectation for leaders really is a sum of everything that people have contributed, but it's really to be supportive, but to hold me accountable as well,
Right.
because I operate well under those circumstances. you hear about love languages, there are leadership languages. You know, maybe if nobody writes the book, maybe we will. You know, we'll split it down the middle. But that's a real thing. I can say without a shadow of a doubt, and you know, and the fourth floor, they didn't cut me a check to say what I'm about to say next. But I've been here 3 years, a little over 3 years, and this is the first time in my life where I have never heard that alarm clock go off in the morning. I'm just, oh. It's never happened before, but it always has happened prior to me. And the reason for that, yeah, I like the industry. I like it here. I like what we do here. I like being able to come and work at crack of dawn. But really, truly, it's the leadership that I've experienced in my 3 years here at ACT. All leaders that I was able to serve under are dramatically different from each other. So it's not one set personality that I respond well to, but it's common denominator of these traits that allow me to work well. The leaders that I have experienced here move and shake so I can grow internally, professionally, and on the team. So if I did not experience that here, it would be a clash. You know, doesn't necessarily mean anybody did anything wrong, anybody did anything super right. That's just how I'm chemically made. So that's an expectation. And to kind of flip on the word, one of my expectations for the leaders that I deal with is to have clear expectations of me.
Yeah.
You know, I need that, you know, and yeah, I'm self-sufficient. I can figure it out. You know, my job is pretty black and white. You know, you have this project, these are your tools for the project, and this is what you need to accomplish. Obviously, if you spent a day in project management, you know, it's either easier said than done, but it is very clear as to what we need to do. I get support when there are things I don't know. I have no problem saying I don't know. I just never had a problem doing that. I either go upstairs and come downstairs, we get it done. That is, it's an unspoken thing between two humans that I need. So yeah, that's my 2 cents, Sabrina. I think I took your turn.
Yeah, this one. I like compromise from my leader. I like compromise and compassion in the same sense, because in my experience, I've worked a lot of jobs that either emotions are not involved and you're not allowed to have any. I've also worked jobs where emotions are highly involved and it's too much for me. So I need compromise and compassion because sometimes my emotions are like today, I'm going to be honest, today I started crying in the office for the first day ever. I have not done that in a while. Immediately rolled them tears back in my head and said, I got work to do. And I have nobody yelling at me. I have nobody telling me how to get this done. And I have nobody who is going to get mad at me for doing it the way that I'm going to do it. But I know that if I'm struggling, I can go tell somebody I'm struggling. So I just need compromise and compassion. But again, like you said, Brendan, like I need those clear, like, what are your expectations of me? Because I'll put expectations that nobody else is putting on me on myself to get everything done perfectly. So it can be very hard for me to be a leader and to be led because I will just have expectations that I've made up for myself.
You know, Mission Impossible 007, are like, James, this is what you need to do. I respond well to that.
This is your mission.
I don't take offense to it. Some people do. Some people that might not be the way they like to be communicated to. It may come up as cold or X, Y, and Z. But that circles back to the conversation between two humans where, hey, this is our finish line together. This is your piece of the pie. This is my piece of the pie. And we're going to put it together so everybody can eat, right? So, I respond. Now, that doesn't mean Erica should tomorrow say, Brendan, this is what I need you to do. It explodes in 5 seconds. We don't want that here, okay? But just the ideology of that, I respond well to. Before we move on, does anybody in the chat want to say anything? Okay, so these are some general expectations, very high level. Be authentic, have empathy, be adaptive, be considerate, and inspire. Any thoughts on those 5? Pretty general. Yep.
I love being adaptive because there's just in this field, especially nonprofit, you think you're going to do something one way, it's not going to happen that way. And I can tell you almost 100% of the time that that's the case. Like it's never going to go the way you thought it was going to happen. But understanding that you can change it, nobody's going to get mad. Like make it work. Make it work.
When I have interviewed places in the past, you know, you read Forbes and you're on LinkedIn and the interview questions and this and that. And one of the most popular questions that interviewees ask interviewers would be, hey, what does my day-to-day look like? And I realized that is one of the most insignificant questions in our industry. Uh, Somebody could, I don't even know if I asked that question on a years ago, but somebody could ask that question and there may be an answer. But working in this sector, yeah, we're nonprofit, but we're a special nonprofit. Like, oh, you know, it's levels to this nonprofit thing. And with respect to all industries within the nonprofit sector, you really can't answer that question here. And I look at that as a benefit. You know, you have to be adaptive. If I want you to be an adaptive leader, I need to be an adaptive team member. It has to go hand in hand. If I want you to be someone who is empathetic, I need to be empathetic. I need to be able to recognize empathy. I need to be able to understand when there's a void in empathy. I need to be prepared to do everything I ask and dish that out to the folks who A, I work with, or B, I oversee, or a mixture of both. Work is hard. Work is hard. Here, what, 7, 8 hours out of our day. If you're lucky, you sleep another 6 to 8 hours. And then those last 8 hours, you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. So by those standard numbers, here about a third of your day. Like that's a large piece of your day. And our job gives us a generous PTO package. So I always appreciate that. But you have to, it works really well if you want to be. It really does. And when I say want to be here, I'm not talking about your personal stuff. I'm talking about being in the work that we're doing. We all know what the mission and vision here is: advancing Connecticut together. We're in a great position where we have sectors and different pieces. I came 3 years ago, not here as long as other folks, but I did see the transition, right? So these traits, I believe the agency has in order to move forward and reach that finish line and wear that crown that I believe this agency wants to win. And I think we're doing a good job of that. I think any areas of opportunity, our leadership jumps on it. I think if there's something that they may miss or overlook, I think we jump on it too. That's healthy. As long as it's respectful and a healthy dialogue between 2 people or 3 people or 50 people, it's good. I'm looking forward to the retreat. You know what I mean? I got my retreat hat ready. And that's a real, I tell you all the time, just like I do everything. I love all that stuff. The lunches, the retreat, I'm not getting in the canoe. But those of you who are here last year, you know what's going on with that. But I'm not doing that. But I think it's healthy. And I think we have such a heavy job. Like, take anybody in this room. Look at what we do for a living. It's heavy, and it can weigh you down. And take your PTO, take your floating holidays, and all of these things because you need them in order to recharge. We'll keep that in mind. Go on. All right, who wants to do this one?
I can do it.
Okay.
Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Nelson Mandela.
All right. Enhancement. I like this one. I think we all can grow. I think come on in. I think we were just talking about you. I think we all can grow. I think enhancement is something extremely important to the betterment of our agency. Let me go in order. to yourself, to the team, to the department, to the agency, to the industry, in that order, and other things like that. You can always enhance, and I really like this quote that Patty came up with, because education is key, whatever form of education that looks like. I do not have a traditional education. I did not go through that yellow brick road of the traditional education, even though as time goes on, there really isn't a traditional education. But with my age and the secular definition when I graduated, it was very black and white. And I feel proud to be where I am today because I constantly enhance and I'm resilient. I'm resilient. And if we learn to stop shortcutting ourselves with internal compliments, you will be able to blossom that enhancement, that development, that leadership. We have talked for the past 45 minutes about my imposter syndrome. I'm not shy about it. Talk to Erica about it often because I know it's a blockage for my development. So I try to get rid of it. I try to do things. I try to talk about my leadership language that I need from Erica and her language that she needs from me. And I try to enhance every single day. Before we move on, are there any other pieces of enhancement that you all want to talk about or have seen within yourself or your leader? Floor is open. Folks online too, the floor is always open for you lot. I need another water break, so somebody needs to What about you, Erica? Got anything?
Think about when they're thinking about when we're considering enhancing ourselves or just ourselves personally or within our choice, anything. What do people consider for themselves, I guess? Like what like you given your example of something that you recognize that kind of pivots you from moving forward a little bit at times. So like what things do people identify for themselves?
Just like the first thing that comes to mind is like acceptance of failure. I think that especially working in nonprofits, we hate to see anything fail because we think that if we have this idea and we pursue it, it's supposed to then breed success. I've done a lot of research in my life, and success is what the outcome is. You get the answer. You get success by knowing if that worked or didn't work. But we don't know how to like actually internalize when something doesn't work as like, that's okay. That's the answer right there. That's the proof. That's what you needed, like to see if this is going to be helpful or not. And so to enhance myself, like I'm educating myself more on like how I can accept those things when they don't actually go the way that I thought, or I start explaining something and I'm like, wait, that's not the most articulate way to say that. But also sometimes I don't need to like make it so fancy. It could be as simple as I just need to get this done. This is how I'm going to do it.
Right.
A, B, C.
It could be the accepting of that thing, but also what lesson you may learn from whatever specific thing it is that maybe didn't work out.
Yeah.
Like, there may be something that comes from it that helps you with big corporate too.
Anybody else?
To say my day-to-day thing is just like motivation and just finding the small things throughout the day to like. I always feel like there's no reason not to be like people have their struggles and everything, but it's just like I constantly question myself. I'm like, can't I just be like in a better mood? Can I be like happier right now? Like, is there a way for me to get there? You know, just like constantly, just like I see people who are just naturally happy all the time, and that's not me. You know, I need something to push myself to get there. But what's my push today? You know, what's my motivation today to just be in that happy, bubbly mood and just kind of like that contagious, just like wanting to spread that joy. You know,
That could be a front too, though.
it can be.
Exactly what
You see,
It's the front that I appreciate though, because when I see people do that, I'm just like,
oh yeah, I mean, everyone appreciates it. The person behind it is, and
Dying.
they think that's what it has to be. So
One thing I started doing is like, you know how like people say like, good morning, how are you? And the initial thing is like, good, and you? I stopped doing that. I throw everyone off. Someone will ask me, good morning, how are you? Not great, how are you? I didn't say good morning because it's not a good morning, but I'm not telling you that you have to like greet me now with some sort of like, oh my God, are you good? Or I'm so sorry for that. No, you're fine. Like I'm just telling you, you asked a question, I gave you the answer.
The
Like,
honest answer.
what did you want me to smile and go?
Right.
No, it's not good. But I say it with a smile. I'm like, I'm not good.
That's
Scary.
Listen, you're a human being. That's perfectly normal. Okay, we can keep rocking.
Oh, this is
Yay.
me.
That was great.
I love it. We thought it was important to add this for recent grads. I'm gonna be a recent soon to be graduate. But you know, even in being in this role and like in my other job that's not in the social work field, I am a leader there, and I think as a young person, sometimes we struggle with being in those leadership roles. And so these are just some tips to help you be a leader and also just being in the field. Embracing learning, you know, like the whole fake it till you make it thing. It's not really the best advice because you really just have to like speak up and like ask questions. Like I was even talking to Erica like earlier. I'm like, I'm probably annoying because I just asked so many questions. I'm asking everybody questions. Like, you know, and it's like, but I rather ask questions and like I felt like I've gotten the most out of my internship because I've been in positions with people like Brendan and Erica and you know, Deborah who have helped me be like, yeah, you can ask questions. It's okay. Being empathetic, you know, successful people, they understand that being kind is actual a leadership trait, you know, and that's I think the best way to get anything pushed is by being empathetic and showing that kindness, showing humility, you know, knowing that as Angel said before, like, you know, every leader is not perfect. Like no human is perfect. And so we need to both acknowledge our strengths and our weaknesses and take them for what they are, you know. And then engaging with the team. I think especially for recent grads and just young people that are going into the field, it's really intimidating being in these spaces. As Brendan was talking about imposter syndrome, there's so many things that come up to it. And even just feeling like, did I even get all the proper training that I was supposed to get from my school? Like, do I have the actual skills to do this job? And I think engaging with the team and like learning and asking questions just allows for better things to happen and for problem solving to occur.
Okay. Remember that helping others doesn't mean denying to help yourself. That quote is actually from a book. It's called A Most Important Year from J. Long. Okay, so we split it 5 and 5. 5 ways to make your team feel more energized and 5 ways to promote employee self-care. They are all in the same conversation, but we decided to split them because they mean different things. So, Angie, you want to take the first 5?
Got you. So the 5 ways to make your team feel more energized: boost adrenaline with a team building adventure, set a policy around working hours, stock the office with energizing snacks, encourage breaks, exercise, and walking meetings, offer opportunities for learning. I love all of these.
In case anybody's wondering, number 3 was a plug. I have no doubt to admit that. We wrote it on purpose. Let's see what we can do. I'll take the next 5. So 5 ways to promote employee self-care, flexible schedules, recognize accomplishments, stress management and mindfulness, healthy and fun, create a healthy and fun workplace through events, and well-being and productivity. I've been here 3 years. We've done every single one of those and continue to do so, which is I think is really, really cool. Flexible schedules. I started with COVID, but pretty sure that the schedules were flexible here prior to that. Recognize accomplishments. I think that happens internally. I can only speak for myself, but I feel that stress management and mindfulness, we do that through the voice, and I learn how to mindfulness events, healthy and fun workplace events. We have one coming up in 29 days. Yes, yes,
29 days.
exciting. I can't wait. Yeah, 1 month minus 1 day today. Healthy and fun work events. That's actually going to be really fun. I hope everybody registers. And last but not least, well-being and productivity. I think is important. You know, I was nervous about today. I get anxious anytime I speak. Doesn't matter if it's 20 people or 2,000 people. I popped in the office, looked at Erica and Patty was like, listen, I'm going to go spin the block. I'm going to go treat myself to a lunch and I'll be back. And all they did was look at me and say, okay, I'll see you when you get back. That's important. That matters. It's a small thing, but it matters. So keep these in mind. You should never subsidize helping yourself or helping other people. And I know in social services, a lot of us feel like we need to do that. And there's a world where that was the case circumstantially, but it's not a good, it's not a world that we want to live in. And it's not a benefit to ourselves, our team, our department, our agency, our industry, our clients, and we should just not do it. And it's either easier said than done, obviously, because I can say this: if you know I have something due that is a direct correlation between people being homeless or unhoused or underhoused, and not, yeah, I'm tossing and turning all night. So I'm not going to sit here. I told you, I'm a lot of things. I will not lie. I will not, gas anything up. I have had many a nights tossing and turning in this role, and I welcome it because it breeds productivity. Yeah, a couple Friday nights I've been tossing and turning about the pit. Last year, one of the times we were going to go out, it was like a blizzard the night before. They're like, okay, well, make sure my tires are good and these little things. So it's okay to talk about and to discuss. And we made it happen. We still went out. We got some Dunkin' Donuts, made it happen. So these things we invite. Okay. You want to do the last one, Eric? Want to read the Ella Fitzgerald one?
Isn't where you Ella Fitzgerald?
Really simple. You guys heard the joke at the beginning. She really said that. For us social media users, we know the long history of made up quotes. She really said that. Actually, really ironic hearing Ella Fitzgerald say that if you know her history. But we're going to get into the last letter. The last letter is D, develop. We talked about leadership, identifying the leader within you. What are you looking for in a leader? All these attributes of leaders. Enhancement. Okay, so you're a leader. What now? How do you enhance your skills? My colleague, Albert Einstein, said that's a fellow non-traditional educator or educated person, said intelligence should begin at birth and only commence at death. So you never know everything. You should always be learning until you go to this next chapter in life, whatever you believe. But I plan on being a student of life as long as life flows through my veins. So let's get into it. Okay, ways to develop your employees. Encourage continuous professional development. If you have ever managed me, Erica can attest to this. I don't know why I don't have a professional development tattoo. It's my favorite 2 words because it means so much. It's more than going places. It's more than getting sent. But professional development, you're under the right circumstances, you're able to be in a room, in a space with like-minded individuals who can teach you or learn from you ways and traits to get to your finish line. I'm big on finish lines, roads, stuff. It's kind of how I see life. So encourage, continue, and understand this. Professional development does not have to mean conferences. It doesn't have to mean going places. It can happen. I think this is professional development in its own way. It's kind of for you all to judge when the survey comes out tomorrow. But this is a form. Having lunch is a form. I know the executive team upstairs sent an email out a few weeks ago about having lunch with that's a form of professional development. Pick their brains. Eliminate barriers. What is the barrier? Let's identify it. Let's see if we can knock it down. And if we can't knock it down, let's see how we can build a ladder and get over it. We can do this all day, but I think that's important. Implement peer-to-peer learning. So important. If last year we had our community resource fair, and besides the fact that I thought it was a good idea to schedule a community resource fair the day everybody goes back to school, Besides that, our community partners did attend. And I did a speech at the beginning of it, and I said, people aren't here, but we are able to network in a linear way. And it happened. Folks in different departments have said to me, hey, I was able to connect with this person. Come on in. I was able to connect with this person. No, it's open. We want people. Yeah, no worries.
I was just gonna scoot through.
Oh, yeah, do your thing. Connect with MCC. Who else was there? MCC was there. CHR was there. Journey Home was there. A lot of our partners, and people were able to connect with them in a linear fashion. So I think that's good. Establish safe places to discuss their strengths and areas of opportunity. I'm really big on this. I enjoy one-on-ones. I think they should happen often. I don't think they should ever happen at the beginning or end of a fiscal cycle, because why? We need to speak often so that when that review comes, we kind of on the same page. There's no questions about where I stand and things of that sort. Where I'll create spaces for healthy one-on-one. Hopefully, it's kind of the same thing, and create a positive work culture. You don't want robots. You don't. You may think you do. Usually not in our industry. Oh, there's something in the chat. Oh, okay. Thanks, Brenda. We'll send that out. All right, nice. Yes, by all means.
I think from my perspective too, I mean, with all of the conversations we've been having with some of the other slides too, where we, depending on what our role is and whether we're supervising people, like in my case, I used to be a case manager and was responsible for a bunch of folks that I was working with, and that situation may have caused me to lose sleep in times that Brendan's mentioning.
Mhm.
But now my role is a little different, where I'm not so much doing the one-on-one work with clients every day anymore. Now I'm trying to teach people to oversee all of these differing things. And I think my now losing sleep would be having to do with that. My questioning whether, have I supported people enough? Have I trained them adequately? Do they feel comfortable in what they're doing? Do they know what their role is? Is it clear?
Mhm.
So I feel like I sit there constantly walking this what is like, am I doing well enough? Like, am I as a leader, I'm probably ridiculously hard on myself for those things. Because if I'm supervising somebody, I don't want them to ever feel like they couldn't come to me and talk to me about whatever it is that they're struggling. Like, if I hear about it from somebody else, which, sometimes might happen, right?
Yeah.
To me, that would reflect back on myself. I would think of it as something like, oh, well, they didn't feel like they could have that conversation with me. So, like, I guess that's another thing when we're considering like leadership and having like these one-on-one conversations and feeling comfortable to discuss things with your supervisors, being able to talk to leadership, whether it's even in one of those lunches where it's new staff meeting with the executive team, things like that. I just wanted to toss that out there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. It's
My
just
own
informative.
navigation of
Different
it.
point of view.
I feel like that transparency is really nice though, because that's not really what you hear from leaders, like that they also struggle with feeling like if they did enough. So
Right.
I
Like,
think
I'm
that's what
still
makes a
learning
good leader.
Same thing. I'm a human. I don't know everything. I try my best to navigate each thing and be respectful of whatever the situation is, especially if I don't know, I'm gonna probably say so. Like, hey, this part's new to me and I'm still trying to grasp it. And I think being in a position like I have now, I do the whole thing of like, well, like my age and being a woman and like all those things that might have me perceived differently. I think I kind of go over that in my head a bunch of times too, where people might expect something from me or not expect. Maybe they're like, oh, well, she's so young. She doesn't know.
She
I
knows the
hate
real
not
thing.
knowing.
It's a
That's like
whole
my,
workshop.
I don't like not knowing. So that's like part of my journey, I guess, in being a leader.
I always say, people always say that, but I actually do always say this, got to put things in perspective. So, passion, perspective, and persuasion. Are you passionate? Can you persuade yourself? Oh yeah, can you persuade yourself? And what's your point of view? You kind of ask yourself those questions, and then you may not get the answer that you're looking for, but you will start some dialogue within yourself. It's a thing that happens. It's a real thing, and I think it needs to be discussed. We can go to the next one.
Gonna be me again. So we just thought it was important because we are in a post-pandemic world and hybrid work is so it's part of our life. Just actual statistics that show how good it is. Like this is real. So like, it says Connect Solutions reports that 77% of remote workers say they're more productive when they work from home. 30% are saying that they do more work in less time. And then 24% saying they're doing more work in the same period of time. So that's a little discrepancy there. So but then in 2022, a report came out and it said that 4% of people had higher productivity than being fully in office with workers. But I thought the most important thing about this, and I think someone touched on it prior, they had left Brenda. She talked about freedom and flexibility. And this report really speaks to that, when saying that workers that have full schedule flexibility report 29% higher productivity than workers that don't have an ability to shift their schedules. And they also report 53% greater ability to focus, which I think is just so important because I feel like when you feel like you can do, when you feel like you can balance everything in your world, like you can really dedicate the proper amount of time to those significant areas. So when you're working, it's like I'm at work because I've already, I know that I can handle all these other things that I can do. So I can understand why that could increase productivity. And then this other Stanford University did a study, and 16,000 workers over 9 months found that working from home increased productivity by 13%. So I think there is something to this whole hybrid productivity and like having the ability to do both and work around your schedules. I think there's more of a shift going to companies that allow that for people. Even when I'm making my decisions going into the workforce, I'm looking for that hybrid availability, flexibility and schedule. Like, yeah, I can work 40 hours a week, but how that looks every day or every week may be different. And I think that's really nice.
I really like the conversation around like having your own flexibility because some days you wake up in the morning, it's not an office day. And
Yeah.
vice versa. Some days I'm just like, I do not want to leave my bed. I'm going to go to the office so that I can see people and just be energized.
Right.
And having that flexibility of just like being able to like tell your supervisor, hey, I'm not coming in today, but I'll probably be here the rest of the week is always good because it's just the communication's important, but being able to know what's going to make you productive for the day is good.
And that's when I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but like having a leader that holds you accountable is good because when you have that compromise, when you can have that dialogue and be like, hey, you know what, today I'm going to work from home and then you get so much work done that day. Like, that's a great day. And like, what's wrong with that? It's like, oh, I was supposed to be in the office, but I'm work from home and I still did a lot of work. Sabrina, you were going to say something.
So I've had the opposite experience, actually. I hate working from home.
Do you?
I will crawl out of bed with 5 minutes to spare and hop on that call like, okay, what are we talking about? Like, I don't like working from home, because it also, I think, creates an environment where now I'm on my Zoom call, but I'm cooking. I'm on my Zoom call, but I'm answering emails. I'm on my Zoom call, but I'm texting somebody because I got to get this done. So, Brad, can you just log on to this real quick and just do this? But I'm supposed to be in this meeting.
Right.
So I feel like, yes, hybrid is great because what I like about the flexibility at work here is I got two godsons. If I got to go, I got to go. You're not catching me for those 2 hours while I gotta go pick him up, bring him to my mom's, change him, do what I gotta do. But I will work from 6 o'clock till 9 p.m. with no problem. I'm so productive at night. I'm answer my emails, just
Right.
in-house things. I love being able to just be like, you know what, it's 2 o'clock. I'm done.
Right.
I can't do it right now. Being able to acknowledge that I can step out and be like, you know what, I didn't realize that I was going to be overwhelmed, but at 2 o'clock, I got to go because I just can't. I'm
But-
overwhelmed. Instead of forcing myself to sit through those next 2 hours when I'm like, I'm not doing
When
anything.
you know you're not really doing anything. Yeah.
But I definitely think that like I work better knowing that like I can step away when I need to, but when I'm working from home, I'd rather be here because I will do 1,000 things while I'm on those calls. And I'm like looking at my wall, like I should paint that while you're talking to me about the project that's got to get done. I'm like, is that leaking? What's going on?
Well, and I do agree with that. And I feel like that's why, like, so one of those things, like, to make sure that when you're working from home to stay productive, like that's where this kind of slide came from too. And creating a comfortable workspace. So like when I first, when the pandemic first started, I literally had like this, like a desk this big. And it was like I had a little laptop, I could barely fit my chair in, and it was horrible. I hated being home. I hated having to do all my stuff from there. And then I got a bigger table. I rearranged my room. Like now, when I'm home, I'm like, this is my little. It's in my room still, but it's my office space, you know. So just creating that space, staying organized. This one was important to me because I have ADD. So like committing to smaller but intense work intervals, those like focus hours, I'm like, I'm gonna do 2 hours of power, an hour power hour. I get so much done because I'm like, I put my phone away, I have my headphones in, and I'm just like crunch time. Taking a break, important. And then a schedule. I thought this was interesting. Schedule a virtual commute. That was more for the people that are going into the office, but like don't really have that much interaction. So like having, I guess,
Yeah, like in my cube upstairs, just like good morning to myself.
Literally. So it's like having that like a little virtual group chat to be like, hey, good morning, pop it in.
That's actually a big one that that's the one that I think for me is the reason why I hate working from home because I have no one to say good morning to.
Right.
Like even when I'm having a bad day and I walk in, I'm forced to say good morning. And then I'm like, okay, well, you look like you're having a great day. How's your day? Like, I enjoy hearing about other people's day.
Right.
Like, and then I'm like, if somebody is having a bad day, but I'm like, I don't really want to be in the office. Now I can be that person that can like be like, you know what? Let's turn it around. Let's get lunch today together.
Right.
And let's just take an hour because I suck at taking lunch.
Mhm.
So now you're forcing me to make sure that you take it. Let's take it together.
Take care of each other.
But yeah, having something to do in the morning, like rather than just get up out of bed, I start the coffee and
Oh, yeah,
sit
no.
down. I'm like,
Important.
that's
Important.
like,
Yeah, like the days when I would work from home, or like from here, whatever, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna still do all the routines. I'm gonna try to do all the routines that I would do if I was leaving. I'm gonna wake up, shower, change, and then I'm like, sometimes that would happen, sometimes it wouldn't. Let's be real, you know. But it's like, you know, yeah.
so weird. Like I literally have a conversation with my cat. Like in the morning, I say good morning to him. Like that's it.
And this is just like this is the last slide, just reflection. Talk about what we learned, what we're doing
Open
here.
it up, and I know we've talked throughout, but folks online want to chime in and say anything if we in this room. How did you feel? And granted, I will send something out with the slide deck. Give me till what's today? Wednesday. Give me till Friday to do it. But if anybody has any ideas for other ones, so on and so forth. But yeah, any reflection topics before we give folks the rest of their beautiful Wednesday afternoon?
We're talking about energized snacks in the office to be gushers.
Yes.
So let's get some
Fruit
gushers
roll-ups,
in here.
dressings.
Yes.
Come back. Yes.
Yeah, what?
Get out of here.
They stop selling gushers.
Fruit snacks too, the Welch's.
What's those like kind bars? Those are energy, like not healthy.
Well,
They're so
Need
good.
options. Need
Oh,
options.
dark sweet chocolate.
Yeah, I hear you. Some good peanut butter like bars.
that's how we increase productivity here.
Food is always.
To be more serious than gushers, even though that is a serious topic. Something I really appreciated about my last workplace was that we did something called downtime.
Okay.
So it was one day on the last week of the month, and we would take 4 hours of paid time, and just do an activity as a team. So it would be kind of just like a team bonding thing. So I know we keep talking about the retreat, which I would love to hear details about it if I'm able to, but it is more of a monthly thing, not as big as a retreat, but it could be like bowling or because I used to, I did the pastry arts thing. My downtime was like cookie decorating, which is really nice because
it's team led, like everybody gets a chance or something.
yeah, like every month someone on the team had a month. Every month.
So they would like create the activity.
Like I do personal training, so like you could do pastry stuff. I could be like, let's go do a workout. Like somebody else could do arts and crafts. That's nice. That's
Yeah, I
actually
don't know. I thought
cute.
it was good because we got to look forward to it. It was a way to disconnect from work, but then connect as a team. So I don't know. Just thought maybe
I love that.
I actually really love that. Like really love that. And also it's just like, especially when you have a hybrid team, like there's people, I'm not gonna lie, there's 3 people that walked into this office today that I was like, who are you? I'm like, I contact 3 times now and neither of us have said anything. And I'm like, I know you don't know who I am and I don't know who you are, but it's like, we're both like, we all work here, so we're good, right?
On that note, I did hear that we used to do our monthly meetings in person, and that there used to be like not just but like little snacks. Like I would be very happy for a slice of bread and a cup of coffee and see everyone's faces. Like
Yeah.
obviously in a hybrid format because not everyone comes into the office on the same day. But
Look into that. Put it upstairs.
Yeah.
Heard of Blue Room, that might be the direction. So we'll see what's going
Little
on.
tea time.
I love that.
For me personally, I could definitely benefit from like more of an in-depth training on like just putting like sentences on the screen and asking people like, how do we feel about this sentence? Like, your deadline's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about that? Depends on how it's given, like, and then like how something should be presented. Cause like, I feel like for me, like I'm super sensitive, but I'm also not sensitive at all sometimes. And like
Know that though.
with it, like I can go from trying to stop talking and like just get it done. Like I am 2 different dynamics and it's really weird. I don't know. My personalities struggle with each other. But I could definitely use more of like, because sometimes like my bosses have told me like, here's some critical feedback and I'm like, well, I don't like that. And I get either abrasive about it and I'm like defensive and I'm like, no, I don't like the way you just told me that this needs to be changed because this, and this.
Right.
But then I'm also on the other hand, I'm like, well, what's been on their plate? Like, okay,
Heavy as the hat, right?
maybe you need it to get done, but they're like struggling to teach me, but they're telling me I still need to get it done. But then how can we meet in the middle? Because notoriously I've walked into places that are always in transition or rebuilding. And I'm always like, okay, but what can I do? And then I get very overwhelmed. So figuring out like how to balance and like just like communication, like just how to put like words on the screen, like just like I said, like your deadline's tomorrow. Like if I said that, like, hey, your deadline's tomorrow, you might be like, I can or can't get that done. Like, how would you respond? Me immediately, I'd be like, okay, sure.
Yeah, but it's like,
But
have there been
no.
conversations prior? Like, is there like little, and also how much like does a person need? Like, but I understand what you're saying. Are you talking about more like how someone is saying it, the delivery of actual, yeah.
Understanding because I'm so weird because again, we're all hybrid worlds. I get an email and it's like, no, that's not how you should have done that. But they could have been like, no, that's not how you should have done that. Like, no.
But it's how you read it is.
Yeah, like I hope. Or we'll talk about this tomorrow. Now all night I'm thinking, what did I do wrong?
Right.
Oh my God, I messed up. I'm gonna get spoken to, written up. Like I'm like, what did I do wrong? But sometimes they're just like, I don't have time to explain to you what's going on. So this is what's happening. And I'm like, reading emails, understanding, like compartmentalizing and understanding that emotion. Like sometimes it's coming from me and sometimes understanding that I might have taken offense to how this was said to me, but also what's going on in their world.
Right.
Then I got to not take offense to it and just be like, listen, you got problems? Take it out. Take it out somewhere else. But also that needs to get done. Okay, I'll go do it. But next time just relax.
That's me nice.
Yeah. Or hey, you know what? I didn't like the way you said that, but are you okay? Like rather than I don't like the way you're talking to me. Because then sometimes I'm like, I want to tell you I don't like the way you're talking to me, but I also know I'm emotional because my mom just yelled at me. Like, or I had to pay rent and I'm like, how dare I, like, someone take my money and now you're telling me I gotta work. But it's just, I've had it on both ends. Like, I've struggled with my leadership and I've struggled in the whole like identity crisis, just being like, oh my God, I'm a leader now. Like, what do I do? So like doing a exercise on both sides of it, like understanding and how it can, like, emails too. Like I get an email, like I said, and I'm like,
We did one
how do I
last
read
year,
that?
and I can talk to John and see if we can get her back. I actually really enjoyed it. Okay, all right. Well, looks like we have a comment chat. Raise your hand. Okay, you're first. Yeah, yeah. More in person, interactive. We can absolutely work on that. I'll bring it to the executive team, bring it to the group. Okay, is there anything else before we let everybody go?
I'm gonna stop recording.